we focus on the outdoor air pollution problem, but 80-90% of our time is typically spent indoors. How much water do we drink in a day? 3-4 liters. Food, 400-800 grams in a day, but 11,000 liters of air going into the human body.
Crazy.
My hypothesis is that half the cancer cases in India are because of the air that we're breathing.
I agree with you.
Barun Aggarwal, CEO of Breathe Easy, specializing in indoor air for over 2 decades.
He's a leading pioneer in indoor air quality and author of
How to Grow Fresh Air, and what his data shows next might surprise you.
There are critical pollutants that are produced indoors, like more than 1,200 different volatile organic compounds, literally cancer producing. Wood is known to give out formaldehyde for many, many years.
Natural wood.
Candles, diyas, agarbattis, fragrances, mosquito repellent are giving out VOCs in the air which are carcinogenic.
I read a sleep study which said you can't have deep sleep if the carbon dioxide goes above 800.
In a closed bedroom will go up to anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 parts per million. In offices, CO2 levels at 3,500 parts per million. So if I'm sitting in a room with very high levels of CO2, my cognitive ability goes down.
That's crazy shit.
Umpteen number of kids today are falling ill. Some of that is also airborne transmission. So if you can reduce that, you can actually reduce the risk of transmission of diseases by as much as 95%. People will say that I'll get used to breathing clean air, and then when I go out, my immunity will come down. The truth is,
The continuous discussion in India is about outdoor pollution. But apparently indoor air is as bad or as important as outdoor air. Could you tell us a little bit more about indoor air?
yeah, absolutely. We focus on the outdoor air pollution problem, but we live in indoor spaces, whether it's in our home, our offices, schools, they're all indoor spaces. And the time, 80-90% of our time is typically spent indoors. And what we're breathing inside these spaces actually becomes very important. And over the last few years, as we've progressed, and so-called progress, the quality of our buildings has improved and the quality of our windows and doors have improved. So we want very well-sealed, tight windows. And another reason is air pollution. You don't want the air pollution to come in. But when you do that, Mukul, you're basically trapping all the air inside a space. What happens inside is not only the impact of the outdoor pollutants like particulate matter and some of the gases, but there are critical pollutants that are produced indoors in homes, like volatile organic compounds and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is produced by humans, and VOCs are produced by pretty much everything that you would see in an indoor space, whether it is your furniture, carpets, paint in the walls, certain materials, cleaning liquids that you use, all of it will produce VOCs. There are 1,200 different VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Some of them are extremely harmful, literally cancer producing, like formaldehyde, toluene, acetone, acetaldehyde, and some of them may not be as harmful. But for example, wood, natural wood, we love the feel of wood, we love wood, but wood is known to give out formaldehyde for many, many years.
Natural wood.
Natural wood.
Not polished wood.
Not even, the polish is a different volatile organic compound.
one thing
The
on top.
wood itself gives out formaldehyde. So you cannot get away from it. The
So
only
that nice
solution
wooden flooring you've spent a lot of money on.
is constantly emitting VOCs for years. It's not just when it is new or when it is polished.
Right.
For years after it is installed, it is off-gassing VOCs like formaldehyde.
And how come? So basically, there's an avalanche of bad shit going on in our house. How come we don't notice it? How come nobody knows about it? How come you don't feel it rather?
So that's a great question. I think it was Dr. Arvind Kumar who had told me this once. He said, God has given us lung capacity, which is nearly 80% more than what we need to live a sedentary lifestyle.
Right.
So we need 20% of our lungs. The rest
For the
of
normal
it,
life
for
that
normal
everyone-
sedentary lifestyle that we have. But and so till 80% of it gets damaged, we don't even know about it. We don't even feel it. We don't even realize it. But once you cross that threshold of 80%, then there's no looking back. Then you have to change this filter inside our chest, our lungs.
Does the indoor air quality, because whole day we talk about Delhi, and I live in Mumbai. How is indoor air quality between all these different cities that you go to in homes, offices, all these places?
So my experience in looking at indoor spaces across the world is that unless you've done something proactively about it, and that's still fairly rare, your air quality parameters are pretty bad. typically your PM 2.5 may be lower in some cities only because the outdoor air is a little bit better in those cities. And I just say better and not good. But the other parameters in terms of CO2 in a closed bedroom when two people are sleeping, irrespective of whether you're in Kanyakumari or in Delhi, or in Bombay or in Calcutta, it doesn't matter. The CO2 level, the human physiology is the same. I'm breathing out CO2, everybody else is breathing out CO2 and breathing in oxygen. And that CO2 level inside the bedroom will go up to anywhere from 2000 to 4000 parts per million. And it shouldn't be anything over 800.
Indoor air quality is a great equalizer.
Yeah.
It's very little to do with the outdoor thing, and it's pretty bad everywhere in the world unless you take care of it. So it's not that linked to the environment, right? So, we spoke about all these things, the EQI, PM 2.5, VOC, CO2. Can you just, imagine I'm a 10-year-old kid. Can you just take me through these 4 pretty much pillars of air?
Okay. So the first one is called particulate matter. It's PM and there's a number in front of it. PM10, PM2.5, PM1. The number in front denotes the size of that particle in the air. PM 2.5 means that the size of particle we are talking about is 2.5 micrometers in diameter or smaller. One single human hair is about 70 micrometers in diameter.
Wow.
So we are talking about a particle which is 35 times smaller up to 1000 times smaller than the size of one
invisible.
human hair. So it's invisible. It's maybe there in this room right now, but it is even if it is there, it's invisible. Now, what is it? Any particle that is smaller than that 2.5 micrometers, whether it comes from combustion activity like smoke, whether it comes from a sandstorm from the desert, which is very, very fine sometimes, or it could be anything else, which
From
is
any-
suspended
from
from
any
any
source,
source.
when it's so
a
small-
particle that is suspended is particulate matter. So that's PM 2.5. It's harmful because when we breathe it, the first thing it attacks is our respiratory system. It gets into our lungs, and a lot of in India especially, a lot of the PM 2.5 is black carbon. It is because of combustion activity. Because it is so small, it doesn't just stay in the lungs. It can even go past the lungs into the bloodstream. And from there, it can attack all the organs of the human body. And many other diseases of the human body can happen because of exposure to PM2. Studies have been done which show that diseases like diabetes, Alzheimer's, and all these modern lifestyle diseases are linked to particulate matter exposure. So that's PM 2.5.
It's a invisible but mind-blowingly deadly.
Correct. And then the second part is the PM 2.5, how do you measure it? It is micrograms per cubic meter. It is the mass of that. And the weight, correct. The weight of PM 2.5. The World Health Organization has said that our exposure should be less than 5 micrograms per cubic meter on average for the whole year. If you do the math, my exposure of 5 micrograms per cubic meter, 1 cubic meter of air is equal to 1000 liters of air. And as an adult, one breathes in approximately 11 to 13,000 liters of air every day.
I did not know that.
So if I'm breathing in, say, 12,000 liters of air, I'm allowed 5 micrograms per 1000 liters on a daily basis. My overall exposure per day should be at 60 micrograms of particulate matter.
For that day.
Correct.
That's the maximum.
That's the maximum.
Maximum is like a fraction of an eyelash.
Correct. In cities like Bombay, we are breathing 10 to 15 times what the World Health Organization has recommended. In a city like Delhi, we are at 20 to 30 times that. That is where we are. The amount of fine particulate matter we are breathing in 1 year is about 400 grams. Now, that's a pretty simple visual.
Wow.
Close to half a kilogram.
That's a decent amount of...
Take a packet of sugar, which is a half kilo packet of sugar. Now fill it with black
dust.
Charcoal smoke dust. Just smoke, like carbon dust. And now say, I'm going to put this whole thing in my lungs.
For
That's
1 year.
What happens in 1 year by breathing in over here.
That's PM 2.5. And the next one is a VOC.
Okay, so VOCs is another very interesting chapter in itself, because volatile, there are more than 1,200 different volatile organic compounds.
And we're going to list each of them today.
I don't remember each one of them. And there are many of them that are harmful. Where do they come from? What are VOCs and where do they come from is first what we'll cover. Volatile organic compounds are anything that can be vaporized and has some sort of a odor to it. In fact, some of them may not even have an odor to it, but can be harmful because it's a gas in the air without an odor. For example, formaldehyde doesn't have any odor.
And where do you get formaldehyde at home? Because I'm 10 years old. What do you mean?
Formaldehyde comes from wood.
Wood. Oh yeah, wood has formaldehyde.
It has formaldehyde. It can come from glue. It can come from, so when you put paper on the walls, wallpaper. So VOCs, not just the materials, but even what we use on a regular basis. For example, deodorant sprays. They have very high levels of VOCs typically. Fragrances, mosquito repellent, perfumes, the one you put in the wall, mosquito repellent, because we want to protect ourselves from mosquito bites, but those mosquito repellents are giving out VOCs in the air, which are carcinogenic.
The next one in these nice little letters, CO2.
CO2 is carbon dioxide. So as human beings, we all breathe in oxygen and we all breathe out carbon dioxide. And our natural plants do the opposite. Plants need carbon dioxide to grow bigger and they give out oxygen, which is our lifeline. We can't survive without the oxygen. So what happens in a closed room when you don't have plants and you don't have anything else, slowly that oxygen that goes into us and the carbon dioxide that comes out, the CO2 levels start to rise. So the CO2 level outside is about 400.
Which is still very good for us.
Which is still very good. But inside, we've tested in offices CO2 levels at 3,500 parts per million.
Lots of people and it's closed.
Correct. What happens with high levels of CO2? It makes you groggy, it makes you sleepy, drowsy, fatigued. So if I sleep in that air, I used to wake up feeling lethargic. How many of us feel like pressing the snooze button every time we wake up? Oh, I didn't get a good night's sleep. I'm tired after waking up. Why? Because we're breathing and sleeping in air, which is very stale and very high CO2.
Stale is CO2 mostly. Right?
Stale is mostly CO2. For the last 8 years, I've had a system in my room where the CO2 comes down to 700 all night long, and I haven't needed an alarm clock for 8 years. I wake up without an alarm clock and I'm fresh and ready to go for the day.
And AQI, the father of everything.
AQI is essentially a simple way to tell the masses whether the air is good, bad, or ugly in a color-coded manner. And they've made it simple by creating a scale which is 0 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 150, 150 to 200. The simple way is there are 6 criteria pollutants. The 6 pollutants are nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, PM10, PM2.5, and ozone. These are the 6 criteria
common
pollutants which are most commonly found outdoors in India. Each of these, there is an equation that has been created by the professor to calculate each one's individual AQI. And once all the AQIs are calculated based on how harmful each of those pollutants are, that the harmful impact versus the current level is taken into consideration to come up with the final AQI. It's a complicated algorithm. The highest number within the 6 at the end of that AQI, the highest number of that day is called the AQI of the day.
Can you explain again to me as a 10-year-old, what is an air purifier and what does it do?
An air purifier is nothing but a simple gadget with a fan and filters. Think of it as, when you're pouring tea, you have a little sieve, a channi. When you pour, the particles of the tea leaves get stuck in the chalni and the liquid tea goes through, and that's what we're drinking. Think of a filter as the same thing for air, right? The air is going through, the particles which I need to stop, like the tea leaves, are getting blocked by the filter, and the air without those particles is going through.
Going ahead, let's divide the conversation into 3 common indoor areas, which is home, office, and school. Okay. Let's start with home. They say home is where the heart is. What are habits that we all do every day that are just killing us, slowly?
So there's a lot of things one can do in their homes. I've written a book co-authored a book along with my father-in-law. It's called How to Grow Fresh Air. And in that book, we've outlined some simple things that people can do. The first thing is simplify life in terms of clutter. We have so many things typically, and at the end of the day, we have dust levels which start accumulating on those things. And that ends up leading to issues in indoors in terms of air quality. The second, simple, carpeting, right? Ideally, eliminate carpeting. But if you have carpets, ensure that you get good quality vacuum cleaners or you wash them on a regular basis. Even your curtains, ensure that you're cleaning them correctly and properly. Your vacuum cleaners, make sure that the vacuum cleaner has a HEPA filter on it. There are a lot of times people have vacuum cleaners where it's sucking in air, and there's always on the other end of the vacuum cleaner, on the either on the device itself or there's a box on the side, there's air coming out because the suction has to go out somewhere. Now, if you're not filtering that properly, with the force that air is coming out, the particles get spread out in the room even more and stay in the room now. Another thing, we used to have a lot of natural plants indoors, and we've pushed all our plants outdoors. We don't like plants inside our spaces anymore.
We find it like too many insects aate hain. Indians now hate any natural thing.
I'll tell you one anecdote. In our building in Delhi, on the rooftop, we were redoing the rooftop. So the flooring was messed up, so we decided to put the artificial grass. The next day, my team goes to do testing of air quality, and the VOCs shot up. The artificial green plastic material was giving out very high levels of VOCs, and you could walk in there, eyes started watering, you could smell it, it was horrible. And we were worried, saying, what do we do? We had close to 1,000 money plants, like a normal full-grown money plant, with close to 1,000 of them within that space. The moment we put that in, the next day the VOC levels came down. Overnight, the money plant had gobbled up all the VOCs, and the space was really nice. And ever since, we haven't had to remove that carpet. So by putting a natural plant like a money plant, it's called the golden pothos, you can actually improve VOCs indoors in a very good way.
And what about agarbattis, diyas, and those kind of things?
So again, there are many things. Agarbattis is another anecdote. Walked into a friend's home, worried about air pollution, got a meter in the house, not sure what's going on. Why is the air so bad? I've got an air purifier running over here as well. So I get my scientific grade, super expensive monitor, walk around the house to figure out where is it coming from. Yeah, like a ghostbuster. And I'm walking around like literally that investigator who's coming in to figure out where's the problem. And I'm walking, and I'm starting to find a trail as the numbers start to go up. And I finally reached the puja room. And voila, there was agarbatti burning over there. And the reading in that puja room, instead of 40 in the house, which could have been down to 5 or 4 or 3, was close to 200 near that puja room.
Wow.
And right next to the agarbatti, it was going up to like 800, 1,000, 2,000 if I put it right next to it. And it was a revelation. It was like, oh, really? And agarbatti also creates PM 2.5.
Right.
And it does. That is the fact of the matter. Agarbattis, any combustion activity,
Right. Any burning
will create PM 2.5. Candles, diyas, agarbattis, all of it.
What is the biggest myth about indoor air and purifiers that you have heard?
The biggest myth, and I think I hear this every single day, is people will say that, oh, if I put an air purifier, I'll get used to breathing clean air. And then when I go out, I'll fall sick. My immunity will come down. That is by far the biggest myth that people believe. I think that is because of the affinity to water. As we've gotten used to drinking RO water, we are checking, is it bottled water, is it RO? We go to a restaurant, we are asking. Why? Because we want to be sure, is it safe for us? Because if we don't, we've reduced our immunity by not drinking the bacteria and viruses that were perhaps in the water earlier. And now if we drink some bacteria virus, we could potentially fall ill. And that is why we are worried about it. We can stay for a few hours, maybe even a day or so without water, but we can't stay for even a few minutes without air. So we are worried that, if I clean the air in my room, my immunity will come down. Then when I go out, it's so polluted, I'll fall sick. but truth is the furthest from that.
There is no immunity building.
There is no immunity. It's a cumulative effect.
It's like a cigarette. I call it, it's like cigarettes. Like if you have one cigarette, you're not building immunity by having one cigarette. You're just killing yourself with one cigarette. And you're killing
I
yourself
asked that question, which is better, 1 cigarette or 10? Pick.
Right, right.
Answer is 0, but if I didn't have a choice between 1 and 10, I'd pick 1, not 10. Because I know as a kid also I would know that that's less harm to my lungs. So if for 30% of my time, 8 hours when I'm sleeping, 33% of the overall day, if I have clean air, that's 33% less cigarette smoke or pollution smoke going into my lungs.
What is the biggest myth that you have experienced with regards to indoor air?
Oh, people think that the pollution is outside and not inside. Inside तो everything सब ठीक है, सब चलेगा. अंदर तो सब साफ है, बंद है ना. We close our windows so everything is okay now because it's invisible. Right. Sometimes it's visible outside. When it gets really bad, it's visible outside. But even in those days, when you close your room, you can't see it inside. If it's 500, you cannot see it inside.
Yes. How many machines have you installed?
When I started, I used to go to people's houses with an air purifier in one hand and a testing machine on the other shoulder,
right.
and go to people's houses to explain it to them. I personally must have installed over 400-500 machines in people's homes. As a company, we've done thousands of machines. I've lost count. But unfortunately, it hasn't picked up as yet. People are still not as aware. People are still not worried as much.
Yes.
People talk about health. How much water do we drink in a day? 3-4 liters? We're very worried. We want Perrier to RO water to all the best water.
Imported Veen.
The most expensive best waters out there. Food, we take 400-800 grams of food in a day. We have organic food. What are we eating? What protein? What carbohydrates? All of that. But 11,000 liters of air going into the human body.
Crazy.
Are we thinking about that? Are we worried about it? I say, my hypothesis is that half the cancer cases in India are because of the air that we're breathing.
I agree with you. And I think the heart attacks also.
Yeah. Cardiac disease.
Yeah, cardiac disease is so linked to the air quality.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Everybody loves the smell of a new car, of a new apartment. That fresh smell, you say fresh air. What is that?
Pure VOCs, pure volatile organic compounds. Any new material, whether it's a plastic or a wood or fabrics, even fabrics most fabrics are treated with certain chemicals that they will off-gas. When they are new, the amount of off-gassing is much higher. And over time, the off-gassing reduces. It doesn't go away completely typically. It stays for years, but it reduces. So in a new car, that new car smell is the plastics and the fabric and all of that inside the car, which is new, which is off-gassing a lot more. So I always say, when you get into a car, A, try avoid parking it in the sun. B, even if it is in the sun, when you sit down, do not just sit down with your windows rolled up and turn the air conditioning on recirculation mode. Put your windows down, put your AC on blower mode for full speed, let that air that has been sitting inside the car for a long time out of the car, and then start to roll up your windows once that air has escaped. Otherwise, the air that is trapped in the car, you sit quickly and you sit down and you shut the door and you're in that trapped air which was there for a while. You're breathing all of that in. You're breathing very high levels of VOCs.
So what happens to your body when you spend, hours at home, 12 hours, 24 hours on weekends or whatever, breathing all these things?
I mean, if you're breathing all the harmful chemicals, high levels of CO2 and PM 2.5, each one of them has different impacts on the human body. Your PM 2.5 has short-term and long-term health impacts. CO2 has short-term and long-term health impacts. And VOCs mostly have long-term health impacts. The VOCs that we're breathing, a lot of them are cancer-producing. So if you're going to stay in a closed space, you're indoors, you have high levels of VOCs, in the long run, there could be higher incidences of cancer. CO2, short term, leads to lethargy, tiredness, sleepy, drowsiness, but in the long term, it leads to productivity losses. your productivity, how productive you are, how sharp you are in your brain, your scores, your test scores, your decision-making ability in the boardroom, all of that starts to get impacted in the long run if your CO2 levels are high. It also impacts cognitive scores in the short run. So if I'm sitting in a room with very high levels of CO2, my cognitive ability goes down.
I read a sleep study which said that you can't have deep sleep if the carbon dioxide goes above, I think it says 800, which from what I understand is a very low level. Is that true?
The study has been done. It's one of the few studies. They do talk about doing more, but absolutely, I think that if you can actually achieve that, it's difficult. You need heavy duty equipment and technology in order to get your CO2 down to 800 and below, or you're living in somewhere up in the mountains where it's so clean you leave your windows open, and then you're way below 800 for sure. But otherwise, achieving that 800 is really difficult. But if you can achieve it, nothing like it. Not only do you get really good deep sleep, but you wake up feeling fresh because you've got the deep sleep. You're more productive throughout the whole day.
Sleep is one of the biggest problems for everyone, and everyone's having melatonin, these special candles. There's 5,000 things, but just having a low level of carbon dioxide, I mean, it's like without that you can't get deep sleep. Basically, that's what this study says. It's insane.
It's part of who you are. Air is, you drink intermittently, you eat intermittently through the day, but you're breathing continuously. So it has so much more impact on who I am and how I feel and how productive I am on everything.
Is it true that people spend upwards of 5 lakh rupees, for their home filtration systems? And what does that mean? What do they put? And what do they get?
Absolutely. It's starting to become more and more common. 5 lakhs and even more in many cases is what we're starting to see. The most expensive home I've done has been 1.5 crore for one single home.
But that must have been a very big home.
It's a large home, and we did a very, very interesting and a unique solution.
In Delhi?
In Delhi, we put 2 greenhouses on the rooftop of that house.
Jesus.
One greenhouse for the daytime because plants that give oxygen in the day, and one greenhouse for plants which give oxygen at night. And the air was then routed from the respective greenhouses through a mechanical filtration system.
Wow.
And then distributed to the entire house and monitored automatically from the entire house. So very, very sophisticated systems we've done. But coming back to
like
5
a normal
lakhs,
normal apartment,
Yeah. So 5 lakhs, what will it give you? We can put in, typically there's 2 or 3 bedrooms and a living room. We put in a centralized system in the living room, which kind of ensures that you have low levels of PM 2.5 across the whole house, and you have some low CO2 coming in, fresh air coming in from outside, so the CO2 also starts to go down. And then I supplement that with the top of the line IQ Air in the bedrooms. Because I know that the Swiss company that makes these IQ Air machines is making one of the best air purifiers in the world. That their technology is safe, it is tested, it is proven in Swiss laboratories, and I know that I want that in my bedroom. So I've put that in my bedrooms and my children's bedrooms, and now in thousands of other homes. So at night, for those 8 hours, I'm getting the perfect air I can possibly get.
Because my question is that, now in India, in urban India, apartments cost everything. There's 100 crores, 50 crores, 30 crores, 20 crores, and blah, blah, blah. All over India, this is happening. Your solution is an expensive solution, relatively speaking, for sure. What do you see? What percentage of wealthy Indians are getting awake to this problem of, we breathe air the whole day and all these things? And what percentage do you think still are like, who cares?
So,
because they can afford it, but how many people are actually doing it?
So 0.001% of India is today looking at solutions for air quality. But when you talk about the wealthy who can afford it, I would say we're still at about 20%, 10 to 20% of the wealthy who can afford it, who are looking at it and saying, we want to do this. Or maybe my numbers are high still. I would say maybe we might still be at 5% right now. Because A, it's because awareness. They don't even know that there's a problem.
Right.
B, a lot of people who can afford it will come and tell me that, oh, this is a hoax created by the West for us to buy product. There's nothing like this. We've grown up in this all our lives. We're absolutely fine. Our lungs are absolutely fine. Right. So there's a little bit of denial over there. So awareness or denial are, I think, the main causes why people who can even afford it today don't want to do anything about it.
Got it. So other than air purifiers, what are some quick and easy fixes? I know it's hard, but something that you can do in your house if you can't get an air purifier. What can you do?
Cleanliness, wipe down all surfaces. I use a neem oil liquid in my wipe for the whole house. So that kind of, it's completely natural. No VOCs. The cleaning liquids that you use, all the different cleaning liquids, make sure that they're zero VOC. The paint that you use inside the house, make sure that you get zero VOC paint, because paint gives out volatile organic compounds which are carcinogenic. And then the polish, the wood, of course, I love my wood as well and I'm going to keep it. But the polish on the wood, try and minimize the polish. And if you have to polish it outdoors. Nail polish remover. Always
smells like hell.
It's toluene. It's a very strong volatile organic compound which is cancer producing. So
and a lot of girls are putting nail polish and removing the nail polish, 10-year-old girls and everything.
So when you're using nail polish remover, go to the washroom, turn the exhaust fan on and then use it so that the fumes from that nail polish remover go out and are not lingering in the room for hours after.
How bad is nail polish remover?
It's a
It's one of the worst
class 1 carcinogen.
It's a class 1
cancer producing.
Classified. Nail polish remover is a classified.
It's a VOC, and VOC, that particular VOC is a class 1 carcinogen.
Is polish also a class 1 carcinogen?
Yes.
Polish for wood is classified by FDA.
Is a VOC and it's a class 1 carcinogen.
That's crazy shit.
All spray deodorants.
Underarm deodorants.
All spray underarm deodorants. We think
and air fresheners.
Solving a big problem of BO, of body odor. But the reality is that by spraying those deodorants, which are aerosol based, and those cans that get finished in 10 days and we are ready to go to the market and buy another one, they are all cancer producing. Most of them are cancer producing. I don't know about all.
Really?
I haven't tested every one of them. Pest control.
Pest control. Wow, I know.
Poison. It is killing. Pest
Cockroaches,
control is to kill the cockroaches and rats.
I think is it banned in America? All over India, you do defogging, fogging. All over India, you do something called fogging, which kills mosquitoes for malaria and everything. Everywhere you see it, it smells the whole place. I read many years ago that was banned in America in the 70s or something like that. What are 3 mistakes that people make when buying and using air purifiers?
So the first mistake is, and the easiest mistake that can be solved, is that they believe the manufacturer when it comes to the size of the space the machine can serve. A manufacturer is trying to give the biggest number to try and sell their product. And that biggest number is based on a controlled lab test. Perfectly sealed windows and doors, perfect environment. And based on that, they say, oh, my machine can function in a 600 square foot room.
So buy a bigger machine.
Number one, buy a bigger machine. Because
double
they're also
the size
testing it on high speed. And on high speed, it's very noisy.
Right.
So if I put a machine on high speed over here, I'm not going to like it. It's going to be very loud and noisy. So I'm going to immediately put it on low or turn it off. So on medium or low speed, you need a bigger machine to cover that. So just my recommendation is double or half the recommendation of the manufacturer based on the size of your room. So if my room is 200 square feet, I'm going to look for a machine that does 400 square feet at least. That's one. The second one I want to look at is the quality of the filter. The filter in overall industry, the parlance of the word HEPA filter is used very loosely. People will use HEPA-like, HEPA-type, HEPA without actually being certified. So there are certifications that you have. One of the most stringent and difficult certifications to get is an EN 1822 certificate.
EN 1822.
It's a European certificate, EN 1822, which certifies that a filter is capable of filtering the smallest particles at the highest efficiency, or what size particle can it filter at what efficiency. And an EN 1822 typically certifies that a 0.003 micron particle can also be filtered with an efficiency of 99.97%.
So just saying HEPA filter is not enough. And for using them, any tips you have?
So yes, from a using perspective, there are lots. A lot of people will say, oh, winter is over, I'm putting my air purifier away, just like the heaters. So don't do that. Please run it throughout the year. You've bought it, please use it.
And indoor air is a perennial
Indoor air is
problem.
an annual perennial problem. It is there throughout the year. Even in the monsoons when we think the air is really good, even if it is 40 and my air purifier can bring it down to 4 or 0, I'd rather breathe in 0 rather than 40. May not be 200, may not be 100, but even if it is some number, if I can bring it down, it's worth it. So keep it running all the time. The second one is the speed at which I run it. A lot of people will just put it on automatic mode. These air purifiers have built-in sensors sometimes, which are very, very low-grade sensors. And they sense the air being clean after a little while when it may not actually be clean. And when it's on automatic mode, the speed of the fan goes really low. And then it's not doing what it needs to do. So I say never put it on automatic mode. Leave it on medium at best, where the noise is, whatever the medium number is, where the noise is reasonable and yet it is still doing something.
Right.
And of course, the most important one, missed one, change the filters as they get dirty. I have seen homes where filters have not been changed for years. They're completely choked and they just don't know, they're oblivious to the fact. So check your filters, make sure that they're clean and change them as per the recommendation.
So moving over to the workspace where most of us are destined to spend our lives. Harvard has done a lot of studies. I read another study by Harvard which said that cleaner indoor air boosts cognitive function by 61%. Now, I have many questions there. Firstly, 61% is an insane number. What is cognitive function and what does this mean?
Cognitive function is the ability of my brain to process information and recall the right information. The ability to make decisions, the right kind, the quality of decision making, the quality of recall. So those studies have been done where in the workplace, decision making has been tested to be better in buildings which have clean air.
But 61%, that means this should be for all CEOs. I hope you're hearing me, CEOs. Forget about everything else. Forget about AI. Put this system in. Your absenteeism will go down. You guys will be healthier. And if you don't care about all that, which you probably don't, you get 60% better. 60%. Your top line is going to go ballistic, basically.
So the people cost is the biggest cost for most organizations.
Yeah.
And if your people can be more productive by 60% as per this study, then it's a no-brainer.
Crazy. And talking about Harvard reports, I read another report which said that when CO2 builds up in an office, our brain performance declines by 50%.
61% correlates with that, right? So a lot of people after lunch, they fall drowsy and you even see people taking a little bit of a quiet nap in the office. It's not because the lunch was heavy or I had rice at lunch. It's because the air by the afternoon starts to get really heavy with CO2. And that's what makes me drowsy. So if you have fresh air, did you know that in casinos, they're actually pumping in oxygen to keep you super active so that you don't feel drowsy and you don't want to go back to sleep and you keep betting money?
But then that means it must be getting worse and worse till the evening. So, because why do you feel sleepy in the afternoon and then you get a little better? Because you have some sugar or something.
People start to leave by 3, 4, 5, so it starts to get a little bit better. But the peak CO2 levels are typically between 2 and 3:30 p.m.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because people leave some.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think every CEO has to look at this and change it. And again, thinking from an office point of view, how should companies, if a company has to take this step of putting quite a complex, expensive system in their 20,000 square foot office floor or whatever, how should companies measure the return on investment in better air beyond like absenteeism or fewer sick leaves?
Oh, that's a great question. So, what we like to do ideally, and it's a perfect world, I would say start measuring various parameters of your occupants inside a building, whether it is your blood pressure, whether it is the blood oxygen saturation levels, whether it is absenteeism, whether it is presenteeism. Start measuring all of that before and after you've put in a system. And you'll actually start to see a difference. And of course the soft angles are also there, so you start doing surveys also before and after, and you'll start seeing that people are happier. I've always said that, can a working building, have a happiness index to it? And a happiness index means people in my building are happy. Wouldn't I want to go to work in a building and a company which has a happy space versus a sad space? So if I can attract good people into a happy space, automatically I'm getting better people and my productivity in my office is going to go up. So now if I rate that building and I tell people I have clean air, and that's one of the parameters that I'm ensuring that I'm giving you in my building, you will not only attract good people, but you'll keep the good people. And automatically your parameters...
If they care about it.
Slowly with education, people do care about it. There are enough offices today where we start getting calls when people saying, okay, our people are now starting to complain that something is wrong. Can you come and check the filters? And we go in, and yes, the filters are choked or haven't been changed. It's time to change them. We change them,
But
and
they get
people
used
are
to
now
that.
people have got used to it, and people have started to say, "Oh, the CO2 levels are too high," or "There's a monitor in the office." People are now not scared to put monitors in the office.
Right.
They are putting them, and when people see that, they say the CO2 is very high. We need to do something about it.
Got it.
It's the employees working over there who have now been educated on the topic and on the issue, and they understand the challenges, and they're saying we want better air. They're now used to it. We've said expensive, but honestly, I think about it and I say it's not that expensive. We spend so much money. We were talking about art in the break. We spend so much money on art. We spend so much money on interior designing of our spaces. And
It's a fraction.
It's a fraction
So
of
tell
all
me,
of that.
To that point, say someone is doing up an office, nice tech company, or someone has got this massive, 3 floors, 30,000 square feet office for like 500 people. What percentage of the cost would be a state-of-the-art air system?
1-2%.
1-2%. Yeah.
1-2% of that total cost of that space of doing it.
1-2% cost for 60% productivity increase. I don't think there's been a better ROI ever. Moving to school and our beloved children, the future of our country. How does bad indoor air affect children's development and focus?
See, the first thing we have to realize is that children, by virtue being smaller in size, are breathing more in terms of the number of times they're breathing. Their breathing rate is higher than adults. It's very easy. You check the pulse rate, you check the number of breaths a child is taking. So by volume of size, per metric volume of size of the child is actually breathing in more air than an adult. So hence it's impacted more than an adult with the air pollution in the air, number one. Number two, we've talked about how air quality impacts health and it impacts cognitive. You're going to school for what? For an education, to learn. And if my cognitive abilities are going to get impacted because I'm going into a school which has poor air quality, then I'm defeating the primary purpose of going over there. And the other part is the health. Umpteen number of kids today are falling ill, whether it is a viral infection that is spreading within a classroom, and that happens often, right? One child falls sick, a surface is touched, the next child touches the surface, and it spreads. Suddenly the whole class has fallen ill. That is very common, but some of that is also airborne transmission. So if you can reduce airborne transmission with the right filtration technologies, and in COVID we learned a lot about that, and if you can do that along with other pollutants in the air, you can actually reduce the risk of transmission of diseases by as much as 95%. So classrooms, I say, are the number one place, because when a child falls ill, not only is that child going through suffering, but even the parents and the adults in the home have to potentially forego their work or stay at home, or some other hardships are in place because that one child has fallen ill. So the classrooms must be the most protected areas, according to me, after the bedroom of that child, in order to protect the children.
And how do indoor pollutants affect kids differently from adults, physically and mentally?
As children are developing, what we've seen is that their lungs develop less than what they normally would if the air was clean. And there is actually studies that have been done which show that Indian lungs are on average 15% smaller as compared to Western lungs. So we've got, automatically we have a disadvantage over there when it comes to perhaps sporting events or any other activities that we do. Our lungs are already compromised to an extent because of the air pollution. So in development phase, clean air becomes necessary. In fact, we've even found air pollution impacting a newborn in the womb of a mother. So whether it is in the womb or whether it is in the young ages of development, air pollution can impact you right through.
Speaking of that, again, Harvard, there's a study which showed that when PM particulate pollution dropped by just 1 microgram, infant deaths fell noticeably. So does that mean that if a mother or a father, a new parent buys an air purifier just for the children's bedroom, they're literally reducing the chance of the baby dying?
Again, anecdotal, but I have an example right here in this city. There's an area in Chembur where there's a landfill. I know a few families over there, and I was told that there have been miscarriages across the board within that little community. And it is, according to me, it is directly related to the air pollution over there.
Sure.
Whether it is the particulate matter or the gases and the bad smells that come in from the garbage dumps, or the particulate matter by burning of those garbage dumps, all of that is to contribute. We put in an air purifier, and within a year, they conceived a child.
Wow.
And they had had multiple miscarriages before that. Air
One
pollution one family, but they told me that there were many others such within that community.
Since we're talking about kids, a lot of parents ask this question, what AQI levels are safe for kids to play outside?
This is a tough one, yeah, because ideally you want it to be in the good zone, right? I want
The
my
green
PM
zone.
2.5 in the green zone, which means PM 2.5 ideally under 9, which is as per the US EPA. By Indian standards, if I say under 40 micrograms, that's the CPCB standard in India, that PM 2.5 should be under 40 micrograms per cubic meter. Even that would be great if I could put that as a standard. Unfortunately, if I did that, the number of days that I would allow the children to go out would be so little that it would impact other developmental issues. So in my household, and what I recommend to many people is that you keep a threshold. It's a graded response plan that we've created. And the graded response plan starts at 150 micrograms per cubic meter, goes up to 250, and then goes up to 350 and higher. So at 350 and higher, it is just stay indoors. I don't care what activity it is. I don't care if it's sports day in school, you stay at home. If ideally, school should be canceling sports day if it's 350 or higher outside. At 150, I say, okay, we think about what activities we're going. There's no strenuous outdoor activities like running, like, where you're going to start breathing much more. So we're going to restrict those kinds of activities. And that 250 to 350 threshold, I typically say it's just no going out for morning walks and evening walks. The timing of the day is also very, very important.
No, this is for kids
It's for kids, yeah.
or adults?
I use that as a threshold for myself as well, but I definitely make sure that the kids adhere to it a lot. Older kids, if they can wear a mask, then we relax some of these thresholds. But otherwise, you've got to protect those young lungs.
What are realistic daily habits that parents can follow?
Simple ones are keep a track of the AQI and put a simple system in place that certain AQIs are for certain activities are okay and certain are not. Ensure that you get a good quality air filter for sure in each room or for the whole house. I always say that focus on the areas that you're spending the maximum time and fix those first, and then slowly get to the areas which are less utilized.
What about masks? Do in some cities children wear masks? Does the government say that if there is really bad, or what do you think of masks for
The
children?
government in India hasn't given advisories for wearing masks
Right.
other than for COVID. So for air pollution, we don't get advisories per
Got
se.
it.
But they certainly do help. The challenge with small children wearing masks is very difficult. Because for them, they're fidgety, they don't like to have it covering their mouth, and then they remove it, or they're not wearing it properly. A lot of times I'll see an adult N95 mask on a little 3-year-old's face. That mask is covering either the entire face, or they pull it down so they can see, and then half the mask is open under the chin. Some schools will say you have to wear a mask, and this small child is wearing a full-fledged
So
adult
schools in Delhi have
N95
that?
mask. Some schools do. Some schools are trying to mandate the use of masks during high pollution days.
At least so the school can be open and for
Correct.
outdoor activities.
For outdoor activities. And they encourage the children by reminding them to wear their mask, by reminding them to get their mask, by ensuring that all the adults in the school are wearing their mask at all time. So the various things that some schools are doing.
Got it. What do you tell parents who say, I grew up breathing Delhi air, or my father lived in Delhi his whole life and we all are fine?
I joke and say, yeah, our lungs in India are different from other lungs, right? Our lungs are made of steel, others' lungs are made of normal. I joke and tell them that
Right.
initially. But at the end of the day, it's the science. And you just have to fall back on the science and make them realize that the science is real. The studies are real. It's a cumulative impact on your lungs. And everybody is different. So just because it didn't impact you as much doesn't mean it won't impact some of your children. And more so, many years ago, while growing up, the kind of pollution was very different or much less as compared to what it is now. So some of the phenomena of parali burning in Delhi, some of the temperature changes that have happened, some of the practices of the kind of crops that are being grown at different times because of the water table, all that has changed in the last 15, 20 years, which has a direct impact to the air pollution problem in Delhi. So because things have changed, now we need to adapt to the situation and do what needs to be done. Just because we grew up in a different time and a different place when air pollution was not as bad and awareness was not as high, doesn't mean that today. I'll give an analogy of you should never then upgrade technology. Oh, I grew up at a time when I didn't have cell phones, so why am I using a cell phone? Why am I giving my children cell phones? You don't use a cell phone then. You are improving your life by using technology. So why aren't you wanting to improve the quality of your health with technology when you know it's going to harm you?
Right. And there's a fascinating Israeli study that I heard about, which you must be knowing, that tracked 55 students for over a decade. And the ones that took exams on more polluted days scored lower, which then they predicted led to lower university attendance and admittance, and therefore lower salaries and earnings. So basically, bad air on an exam day can shrink your salary 10 years later.
Right, absolutely right. So people spend a lot of money on counselors, on college, on IIT education, on getting into IITs and all the IIMs of India, or going abroad. There's a lot of money that is being spent before you even get into these places to get into these places. Why do you want to go to the best colleges? Because you want a good career prospect afterwards. But if your test scores, your preparation is going to be compromised because you're sitting in a room which is stuffy and studying, your cognitive ability is going down, it's going to impact your ability to recall what you've learned during the exam. If in your exam room your air quality is not good, it's going to impact the results of the scores, and that's going to have a direct impact. In India, it's so competitive. 1 mark can make a difference of getting into a good IIT or a good IIM or not. And that 1 mark can be the difference with the quality of air that is inside that classroom. Now, you might say everybody has the same quality of air, sure. But what about the air that you were breathing when you were preparing? Not everybody necessarily will have the same. So give yourself that advantage at least.
Right. What a crazy correlation.
So my father-in-law was invited to Japan to actually talk with the Flower Association because with the newer generation, they stopped buying flowers. The older generation was very big into plants and natural plants and bonsai and all of that in Japan. But the newer generation, the market was just gradually declining. And he was invited to talk about, because based on his TED talk on how to grow fresh air, he was invited to talk about the impact of plants. And his number one statement was, you want your kid to get into the best universities in Tokyo? Get a lot of plants and put them in the rooms. Because when CO2 levels go down, when particulate matter is down, when ventilation is there, and when air quality is good, their ability to retain and to recall will be better, and their test scores will be better, and they'll get into the best universities.
Wow. I mean, every principal and every parent in every school should know about this. That's insane. So one of Delhi's leading pulmonologists, Dr. Arvind Kumar, posted this horrific picture of a non-smoker's lungs. And it's horrible. It's like black. Is this really what happens to non-smokers by just breathing, the air outside?
Yeah, he's the leading lung transplant specialist of the country. He does robotic lung transplants. So he sees a physical lung coming out, and he's seen these lungs of younger people. They're not very old also, but they've gone black, and they're non-smokers as per the history on the medical record. So if that's the condition of lungs by just living in Delhi, imagine what happens. I put out an ad a few years ago with a little cake, and instead of a candle, I put a cigarette over there. And I said, that's what a child in Delhi born doesn't have the choice but to smoke a cigarette the day they are born.
And just to be clear, like you said, this is Dr. Arvind Kumar showed us Delhi, but it's the same problem is there in every city in India, and it's all over India.
Absolutely.
On a lesser level, but it's the same. It's like 10 cigarettes versus, if Delhi is 10 cigarettes, how many cigarettes is Bombay?
Probably 4.
4 cigarettes. Because everybody, even when I speak to people, everybody's like, oh, but Delhi is so bad. But it's 4 cigarettes compared to 10. It's not even 1 cigarette. So it's really bad. Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Hyderabad, Bangalore, everywhere basically.
I asked people, I said, the ones who talked to me about that immunity, you talked about that. I said, do you give your children a packet of cigarettes and say, but Bacha, please go and smoke a packet of cigarettes, it'll make your lungs stronger? Mm-hmm. No, you don't, because you know it's bad for you. So why are you allowing them to breathe constantly bad air?
Right.